pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, everyone, welcome. We're going to start off with our city council meeting tonight.
Jesus.
So we're looking for a roll call. Alice, when you get a moment.
Yes. I'm stuck. It's not gonna be.
I'll take my job.
Alderman Petrakos,
Present.
Alderman Capadona,
Here.
Alderman Gerlogly,
Here.
Alderman Smith,
Here?
Alderman Dustin.
Here.
Alderman Vandermeer,
Here.
Alderman Parada,
Here.
and Alderwoman Bartleson.
Here.
Be present, neighbors.
All right, Pastor Lou Wold is here. Open us in a prayer.
Would you pray with me, please? Almighty God, we thank you for your presence, love, and grace. We are grateful for our nation of freedom and peace and for your gracious hand that has guided our nation and for our forefathers' courage and wisdom as they trusted you. And we ask that today you would inspire us by our founding fathers' example. We take a moment to give you thanks for Mayor Tim Murphy's leadership and vision. We ask you to bless his wife and mother, family, and friends with your comfort and love as they grieve. We give thanks to those who have served Lockport for the past several years and are now leaving office. May your blessing be with them and their families. To those to whom you have entrusted the leadership of Lockport, give a desire to seek your will and follow your direction. May the riches of your blessing be upon the mayor, our city clerk, city council members, their spouses, and families. Give to all our leaders your vision for Lockport to be a city of light, the wisdom to accomplish it and the strength to cross the bridges of progress as they work together to help solve the challenges within our city with wisdom and unity. We give thanks for all of our city staff and employees. Bless each of them, their families. For our law enforcement personnel, firefighters, and paramedics, bless them and their families. May they return home safely after every shift. We also ask you to protect our schools from any acts of violence. As a new council assembles, we ask you that it would be a time of coming together with the new members and those currently serving. And our mayor, help them in every decision. We ask for your help for them to have friendly relationships with one another and all the citizens of our city. Help them to have the courtesy to one another and fellow citizens within our city that comes from the one who taught us in everything, do to others as you would have them do to you. Grant us the ability to hear one another with understanding and a willingness to see other points of view and the wisdom to know which is the best direction to go. Help us to remember that you have sworn to us what is good. You have shown us what is good and what you require of us to do justly and love mercy and walk humbly with our God. We ask you as a people that we may humble ourselves before you and seek your will for our lives and for our city. Help us in our city to work as never before to strengthen our families and to give our children hope and moral foundation for the future. May our desire be to serve you in doing and serving one another. We pray this in the name of Almighty God. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Lou. All right, my friends. Looking to have a consent agenda tonight. Can I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Second?
All right, Bob, seconded by Brian. You guys getting it all in before you go? Is that it?
That's it.
Might as well.
Okay. All in favor for that?
Aye.
All right, so on tonight's consent agenda is the April 19th regular city council meeting minutes, the committee of the whole meeting minutes from the same date, payroll period ending April 23rd, our various bills, proposal for preliminary services related to the establishment of the quiet zone. And renewal and amendment number 2 of the intergovernmental agreement with for operating the recycling center. There's surplus property, which was Resolution 17049. Request for additional funding for the Lockport Police Station out of the forfeiture funds. And then there was the PZ case, 2017-01, which was the preliminary plans for the multi-tenant building, lot number 5, which will be the Panera Bread, and an unnamed tenant at the time. So we're looking for a motion to approve our consent agenda.
I'll make that motion.
All right, Joanne, seconded by Brian. Can I have a roll call, Alice?
Yes. Alderman Petracos?
Yes.
Alderman Capadona?
Yes.
Alderman Gilopoulos?
I vote yes on all items on the consent agenda, except those that involve my employer, and on that item, and in this case, item 4, paying of various bills, I abstain.
Thank you. Alderman Smith?
Yes.
Alderman Deskin?
Yes.
Alderman Vanderveer?
Yes.
Alderman Perretta?
Yes.
Alderwoman Bartleson?
Yes.
8 yeas, except for item 4.
All right. Next, we need to appoint Joe Piper on the police pension board. Joe, are you here tonight? I don't even know if you came out tonight. That's all right. So I'm looking for a motion to put Joe on there.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Darren, seconded by JR. Did I get that right, or no? No, Bob. Bob officially seconded. Yes, we got to get Bob in there, so as much as possible.
This is officially a vacancy from Gordon McCluskey retiring, so.
So Joe will take that spot. Is this a roll call, Tommy, or can we just do?
That is, a voice vote is fine on that one.
Okay, so all in favor?
Aye.
Any nays? Okay. Next, we're going to make a motion to reappoint Terry Lemming as our chief of police.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Brian, seconded by Chris Capadona. And again, just looking for a yay or nay on that. Yeas? Any yeas?
Yay.
Favor? All right. Chief, you've done a great job. We really do. Yeah, he was sweating a little. I told him to pause for dramatic effect.
You didn't ask,
Yeah.
you didn't ask for nays. Hold on a
Yeah,
second.
right.
Clara.
Nays? No, you've done a really good job here for us all, Chief. We appreciate.
Good job, Terry.
All right. And then, yeah, before we go on, I want to take a little bit of time here to acknowledge the aldermen here who are going to be moving on, and Alice, of course. And so it's, I'm going to go down to the podium actually for this, so. No, I'm going to do it under my mayor's report.
I'll use my signature anyway.
Well, I know you guys still have some work to do, but before, you get soft, I wanted to just say thank you, Brian, Bob, and Chris Capadona, for all that you guys have done and working with you, and then, of course, Alice. When I came on board, Brian and Bob were, our senior councilmen, and I relied a lot on you guys for advice and help and understanding of past issues. Without that knowledge base, really would have been lost. And so I want to say thank you so much to all that you've done. And Alice, I've gotten to know you over the last 4 years, was just a pleasure. And, all that the clerk does, it's one of those jobs a lot of people don't know about and what's entailed, but it's a lot of work. And I appreciate all the time and effort you've put in for that position. And then Chris, you've just been fantastic. We're really going to miss your skill set. Having a lawyer on the council and what you've done with HR and so much behind the scenes stuff that nobody has any idea about. When working with the Lockport Heights and Bonnie Bray situations and trying to get all that ironed out, I would really have been lost without your expertise. And so I want to thank you for that as well. If you guys don't mind coming down, I'd like to present you with some things.
Come on. Come on. Dun, 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 dun. Not the box of peanuts.
Well, first, for Brian Smith. Brian, is an appreciation to the dedication of your service at the Second Ward from 2005 to 2017. Thank you so much for everything, man. I'm really going to miss it.
Thank you.
time you want to speak, Lori, come on up. Yes. So you're gonna really lay in
I
there
didn't
for
know
us.
this was happening.
Surprise.
Surprised, okay.
Brian, I just want you to know that I'm very proud of you for all your hard work, dedication, and accomplishments that you've made as the alderman. I know you spend a lot of time with the residents and always listening to their concerns, and you tried your very best to always accommodate them whenever you could. I know some of the decisions you made were very tough, and you really, deliberated them for a long time, but in the end, you always did what you felt was the right thing to do. You followed your heart. And I know you really enjoyed helping the people, and I know you're going to miss doing that, and I think they're going to miss you too. So you did a great job, and even though your daughters couldn't be here.
Yes, please.
Well, I just- I just want to talk a little bit about a few things. First of all, I started like 26 years ago with some service to the city. I thought, I got to get involved, I got to do something. So I started out actually in the auxiliary police, and that was for 14 years. Really enjoyed that. That was a really good experience to know the city, drive a few streets here and there, obviously, right, Terry, and to learn about the residents, know what's going on in town, see different people. So I really enjoyed that. So from there, I ran for alderman, and again, that was for 12 years. I enjoyed that too. So together, the 26 years, it flew by. It really did. So do you contribute that to being busy or enjoying it? I think it's both, for me. So again, I'd like to say thanks for my family supporting me. Could not have done it without them. As you see, my wife Lori has been a true asset for those years. So Lori, would you please stand? But you already did. So I was part of it. But again, I'd like to thank the residents of the second ward for their support too. I couldn't have ran 3 elections. We had people running in those 2 against me, with me. So I feel honored that I won those, and I really appreciate that. It took some work to do that, and I'm proud to do that work. I'm glad I did that work, and I appreciate that from the second ward residents. But and I made a lot of friends during that time too. I'll never forget those. There's friends that you think, wow, maybe are they my friend? Did they turn out? And they actually did. They really did. And I looked at it as, are people complaining? No, they just have concerns. And I think we all do. We all have concerns on things. And that's the way I look at it. They just had concerns that they needed addressed. And I looked at it like that, and I thought, wow, that's a good thing. I'd like to say I served under the 3 mayors that, really, they are some awesome people. And obviously, Steve Strait, the one re-election, obviously, so congratulations, Steve. Dev Trivedi, wow. I know Dev was here. There he is. Dev, it's been a pleasure working for you, too. I know you served as alderman and mayor. And then our late Tim Murphy. Those 3 mayors are very passionate with the city to the utmost. They have their heart so dedicated, and obviously their families are dedicated to that position, too. Again, thank you for all that. That's a lot behind the scenes that we really don't see every day, so I thank you for all that. Please, yeah. Going on to our city staff.
You're not
I'm speaking now more than I did 12 years, okay? So it's my turn today, all right? But I'd like to thank our city staff. Our city staff is what makes the council tick, okay? And if you're an alderman, I think you know exactly what I'm talking about, right? Without their hard work and dedication, it is really appreciated. It is so, their expertise, knowledge is invaluable in helping our decisions of what we face. And those, what their knowledge in that, it makes understanding what needs to be addressed. When you call them, they walk you through of their decisions and why they did it and what looks good for our city. It's not just what they have, they have thought about this, whatever we ask them, for a long time. It's nothing that is just off the cuff with them when you ask them about decisions. But I want to say I enjoyed working with all of them, so. I also like to recognize the hardworking, dedicated city employees we have in the city of Lockport. Believe me, you see them out in the street, they're good people. They're very hardworking people. And I'd like to say thanks to all the volunteers on all the committees I've been on for 12 years. I mean, that's what makes a city tick, is a lot of the volunteers for this city. People work, they come home and they come back to the city to volunteer their time. Wow, is that great of people or what? I mean, that's awesome. But I just, again, I want to say thank you for that. So, closing, I want to wish the new council and mayor all the best in the years to come. Thank you.
Next, I want to say thank you to Chris Capadona, his service from 2013 to 2017. Again, Chris, I can't thank you enough for your skill set. I'm really going to miss it, man. I don't know if you have a big speech, too, but... No. And then, next is Robert Peretta, who served here as alderman from 2009 to 2017. Again, Bob, can't thank you enough for all your background knowledge, your expertise, your cool head, always calm, never seen you excited. Good. So thank you for all your service.
Thank you, Mayor, City Council, staff. It's been a pleasure working with all of you. But the one person I really want to thank, among others, but most importantly, is my wife, Catherine Peretta. Catherine Peretta is the inspiration that really has enabled me to do what I do day in and day out. I was just telling Pam a little bit earlier, just the mere fact she's able to take care of my schedule and put that all together enables me to do what I do in the city with Humana, the company that I work for, and of course, everything that we do as a family. So Catherine, thank you very much. I love you. And a quick story, 8 years ago, I always tease my family. They were in Florida when I was being sworn in. It was a long story, but it was something that we planned a year in advance. I didn't know I was going to get elected and that kind of thing. So I'm very appreciative of all the hard work that you've done over the years. I'd like to say thank you to all the residents. You've been so special and kind to me over the years. And all the wisdom that I heard from the residents, I learned a tremendous amount of information from all the residents. And this has just been very inspirational for me to not only work with the staff, Mayor Streit and Mayor Trivedi. I learned so much from all of you, and thank you very much. And then I have my in-laws, my brother-in-law, I call him MacGyver. He's able to fix things like you wouldn't believe. A quick story about Mr. MacGyver here is when he was 16, he put together a little fuel line issue I was having with an old car that I had at the time. He got this part from out of nowhere, and I go to Richard, I go, "You're just like MacGyver." And he goes, "Who's MacGyver?" So he's a little bit younger. But what I've done for the last 8 years is like a dream come true for me when I was a little kid. I always wanted to be an elected official. I don't know what in what capacity, and it goes right back to Catherine Peretta to enable that for me and really be my strength and my rock. Some advice I like to give to younger people: keep your focus, God, family, country. If you have that in order, God, you have that in order, and then your family in order, and everything else will fall into the place. Country, for me, is what I've done over the last 8 years. It's really just tremendous, just thinking back. I moved here in 2003. In 2004, I was president of my association for 2 years, and then from there, 4 years on a 33C school board, and then the last 8 years. So pretty much the whole time I've been here in Lockport has been, volunteering in one capacity or another, and that just goes back to the residents who really embrace me, and I just really appreciate it. It's such an honor to be able to do what I've been able to do for the last, 14 years. So thank you very much to all of you. I think the next city council is going to be just as great, if not even better. And it's going to be an interesting dynamic. We're going to have 4 women up in the city council, so that'll provide some additional insights, from the women perspective. So thank you very much, and again, thank you to Mayor Trivedi and then Mayor Strite for all you've guys done for the last 8 years for the city of Lockport. Thank you.
And then Alice. Alice has served the city for the same time period, 2009 to 2017. And again, I want to say thank you to Alice. And also, very few people appreciate the hours that go into this job. It's a part-time job. Everybody thinks it's a full-time job, or it's not. You do this after work. You still have to make a living, and I commend all of you for your service, and thank you. And Alice, thank you so much for all the time you put in and all that went into.
I'm going to just say a few words, only because it's really difficult. One difficult part of the job is sitting in that chair for 8 years and not being able to speak. Especially for a woman. Although I have to say that my listening skills have completely improved. So, first of all, I'd like to thank Mayor Dev Trivedi, because he was the first person I met when I moved here. He just came knocking at my door one day, just wanted to introduce himself as the alderman. Had no idea who he was, and he came back again a couple of times, and I think I said, if you need any help with anything, and then he came to my door and said, do you want to run for city clerk? I said, great idea. I'm like, okay. So I'd like to thank you for that. It was a pleasure getting to know you and Sharon. Mayor, same with you. You've done a wonderful job, and I appreciate all that you've done. The staff has been absolutely amazing. The current staff, the past staff, and all the aldermen and alderwomen now have been great as well. Chief, everyone that's worked, all the city employees, I really appreciate all their help, because this was very new to me, and whenever I had a question, everyone was more than willing to help me out. So thank you all. I appreciate it.
And, I asked Dev and Sharon to come out tonight, and if you two don't mind, if you'd please come up to the podium. One of the, and you've heard it tonight from those who've served for a long time. Dev's name came up and Sharon's name came up as well. In a way, it's a little bit of an end of an era with, with Bob and Alice and Brian leaving. But, Dev, served with those gentlemen and Alice for all those years. And I wanted to acknowledge all the great things that you did and the fruits that we still are receiving from your hard work, Dev. I mean, there was, your We Care community initiatives are still inspirational and still make us think about how we affect the community. The developments that happened while you were here, your leadership through those times was just really great, and I want to thank you for that publicly. And I wanted to just give an opportunity for, if you don't mind, I'd love to have a picture with with the crew. So come on over here, you guys. And I really want to say thanks, Dave. Appreciate it. Could you get a picture of the old guard there? I think you guys deserve your own picture, actually, because
Chris. Get over there. Mr. Shy now.
Nice picture, guys.
There's a city seal on the wall. Memorializing the emergency exit.
Thanks, Joe.
Thank you.
right on. Thank you, sir. Again, thanks, Dev. Thanks for everything. One more picture. One more photo.
Always late.
Great, thank you.
Oh, no.
Yeah. I was crying, that's why.
Well, thank you for,
Mayor, can we share some comments?
what's that?
Can I
Oh,
share
yes,
some
yes, please. We're still on the mayor's comments. Please, go ahead.
I didn't know what format we were going to take for this, but I'd just like to take a minute just to to say a few comments about some of the outgoing aldermen. Frankly, it's been a pleasure working with all of you. First, Chris, I know you only served one term. It's funny, the mayor said that Chris did a lot of things that people kind of behind the scenes or people don't know about, the public doesn't know about. The reality is it's most of the things that nobody else wanted to do. Chris, when you talk about some of the things that Chris did, God bless Chris for taking that stuff on. And he's the consummate professional, wickedly smart when you talk to him about anything, and just a great demeanor about himself. So, one term here, but a real significant impact to Lockport, and frankly, in some of the things that advance some of the things that may not otherwise have happened. Bob, it's almost odd saying bye because I feel like we're just going to trade your better half coming back in here. So we probably upgraded Paredes, but Bob is leaving, and
I agree 100% with that.
you have to agree. Yep. Bob is leaving, and I think the mayor summed it up really well. Bob is always level-headed, very in tune with the residents, and just a great steward of the community. Right? I think most people know or see Bob and the Peretta family at Lockport events. Right? I'm sure in 20 years when I go to a Lockport event or I walk down Main Street, I'll see the Perettas, right? And so they're just a great asset to the community as a whole. Bob will be missed, but like I said, we're just kind of trading Perettas at this point. And, it's probably neutral for the city. It's just a transition. But I did want to take a moment to really thank Brian. Brian was, one of the elder statesmen of the group when I came on, and I probably didn't reach out and call Brian quite enough, as much as I should have, but his approach as an alderman is great, and I think his residents probably see that. That's why he keeps getting reelected. But even more, just as a person, right? The only time I'm calling all the other aldermen is when things are tough, right? And I get in this shell and I start thinking through things, and I think through it too much, and I read through too much, and whether it's something related to the oil, or when we were thinking about how do we structure our police department, or some of the things that residents are understandably concerned about, or might oppose the way I'm thinking. Every time I call Brian, I'd call him, and I'd be kind of worked up in my head about something, and Brian would just say, "Oh, hey, buddy, how's the family?" Right? And it's just, how are the kids? How's the wife? How's the family? That was the first 2 to 5 minutes of every conversation, and that's really the way it should be when you're talking to somebody outside of kind of this setting. And frankly, it's a weakness of mine, not really how I'm wired, right? I would come in and let's talk about the logic of this decision we're about to make. And Brian's always, how's the Lindsay, my wife, how are the kids, and always appreciated that about him. Every event that we go to for Lockport, you'll see Brian and Lori, and they're both always friendly and always great. That's not taking away anything he does as an alderman. He always has, just being around, he's always got the historical view on things, but he's just always got the sense of the community, or the good feel for the community and the representation of residents. And so it was always a good sounding board. Whether I was frustrated with something or happy with something, Brian was always the right person to talk to about certain things. Not that I don't respect a lot of other people's opinions, and I do, but he's just an awesome guy. And then, before he decided to leave, I know he thought a lot about it, and he's got great reasons, and I'm excited for him in the future. But I'm going to miss you being up here, and like I said, it wasn't enough, but I'm going to miss when we do talk about the issues, and frankly, I'm going to miss that you keep me a little more level-headed when we do have the opportunity to talk. So, thank all three of you for your service, and all of you always worked for the best interest of Lockport. I didn't always agree probably with all of you on I think I've opposed everybody up here at some point or another on something, but I've never questioned any of these, anybody up here's motive, and these are three great stewards of the community.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jason.
Well, just to add a little bit along with that, as you sit here on the council and you look and you just look down the rows and you think, okay, what's everybody's forte as they come to the table, right? And it all comes together, it's just funny how because, you may call a certain guy on something that, hey, he's good at this or something like that. So I think that's what's good about the council, that everybody knows a little bit about something, And I think that's important, that we're all have something to bring to the table that's different. I'm glad we're not all one, say, job or something, you know what I mean? So I think, just to reflect on what you're saying, Jason, I think that's kind of what I'm thinking you're trying to say, and that I got out of what your conversation was, but we all have something to bring, you know, so yeah, I think that's great.
All right.
I would just like to say thank you for the gentleman and the knowledge that you have given me as the only woman on city council. You have been just fantastic in welcoming me to the council, and I thank you very much. You guys have all brought a lot of knowledge that I've picked and grabbed, and hopefully I can, use as I continue on city council. But I want to thank you for accepting me as you have. So thank you. You'll be missed.
I want to echo that too, please, real quick. Just, you guys have been great. Alice, a rock, right? Bob, always the negotiator for sure, always finding that middle ground, as the mayor said. Brian, definitely, he's the one that calms everyone down. He has that. And Chris, in the same ward, right? He's the one that I always get to lean on the most, and I get to push him. As I keep saying, he's a senior on the sophomore. Now he's going off. But you guys will all be missed. Maybe I'm biased because I've only been here for 2 years, but I feel like we've done so much work, and we've made hard decisions. I welcome the new council members. I mean, there's some hard decisions that are coming forward too. So this has been great. I mean, everyone put their egos aside, and we got work done for the city. So that's awesome. Thank you very much.
I didn't want to leave Alice out, and I apologize, Alice. I was looking over here, but I thank you for everything you've done and how you welcomed me also, and you're a great person. Thank you.
All right, my friends. Well, we'll thank you for letting me do that during the mayor's report. And so we have two agenda items on here tonight before we get to bringing on our new folks, and that is CED 1, and with Pam Hurth. You going to take that, Pam?
Yes, thank you, Mayor, council members. This item, which is a sign ordinance text amendment, it would be updating our prohibited sign section to include perimeter and border window lighting. We talked about this item at 2 different committee of the whole meetings, April 5th and April 19th. We're recommending this change, which would describe them as attention-getting devices, and they would become prohibited signs. We're further recommending that for any of the current businesses that are using this type of lighting, that they be given a grace period of 30 days following any official notification from the city with the passage of this ordinance. And just to update the council, existing businesses were notified by certified return receipt. The first went out was on April 21st, and then I was advised that there were some additional ones that I missed because the lights weren't on during the day went out. So a couple extra ones went out on April 25th. A letter that went out was the one that was presented to you at the last committee of the whole meeting, so that's the letter that did go out. I did receive the majority of the certified return receipts. I received phone calls, with concerns with the passage of this ordinance. I've also received information from people who are in support of the passage of this ordinance amendment. So there's been a nice balance between both for and against. With that being said, staff would recommend approval of the ordinance presented tonight, which is ordinance number 17-013. The only change, if it is passed tonight, I'll have to change the April date to the May date.
All right, well, let me make a motion to approve so we can discuss. Looking for a motion? All right, Jim?
I'll second.
Seconded by JR. All right, so I had actually, we do have a few cards here that we'll listen to some folks from. Well, one of the conversations I just had before the meeting was from the Chamber of Commerce president. And Ron, if you want, you can come up and speak about it. But it was, the comment he made to me was, is this all lights and not just kind of the ones that have really become the point of contention, which are the LED lights, which are the really, really bright ones, which have, I think, made everybody's this is where the complaints have come in from other business owners. It's like, I can't even look across the street, and these kind of things that we've gotten. Ron's concern was, and I think was a good one, is that, and he was willing, as a chamber president, to take the lead on it, which was to, look, how about if we go out and we talk with some of the business owners? Because when we used to have Christmas lights, it wasn't really a problem, nobody cared. So instead of perhaps getting rid of everything, is having some deeper conversation. I said, well, if the chamber's willing to take that lead, I could be patient, of course, and you know, maybe get some feedback from that. I don't have a particular issue with that, but did I sum that up, Ron, or is there something you want to add to that? Yeah, so if you want to speak to that.
Hi, Ron Lift, President, Lockport Chamber of Commerce. I just have heard some concerns from some of the businesses in downtown, other places, with this ordinance that's being proposed, that it's a bit all-encompassing of all lights around the windows. And I'd like to have some conversations between the city and the businesses that have concerns so that we have a happy medium. We're not just going, no lights around the windows. If it's something that isn't causing a distraction or something that's, you know, that enhances the business and doesn't detract from the look of the city.
And just so you know, as you have that conversation, our struggle with it was, where do we draw the line? And so it's like, there's some people that like, well, I think, you know, 10,000 lumens of LED lights enhances the business, whereas neighbors say absolutely not. So that will be a, you know, something you'll have to, if you're willing to have that discussion with these folks, that's something that will come up.
And just to add that, I think, sitting on some committees with that, I think what that was kind of about, or I'm getting the feeling is, it's, what are the lights in the windows for? Is it for advertisement? Well, then, that's what we're saying. We don't want nothing bright where it's like, hey, look at my store windows. So I think if you ask the people, well, what do the lights do, first of all, in your window? I think if we understand what they're for, then it's like maybe we can proceed with some of the questions.
I agree, and I think sometimes, I mean, there's almost always been some kind of lights in store windows, be it, you know, neon going around, and there really hasn't been a lot of problem on that. Now we're getting into the bright LED lights that flash like we're in Vegas, and it's kind of taking away from the look that we're going for in the city. But I want to work with the businesses that have concerns and meet with the city and see if there's some happy medium we can come to. Because like I said, the ordinance seems to be all-encompassing, and, you know, even string lights are, you know, are against the
I think it was all about aesthetics, you know, do you have this string, like, was there a big swag in it? Is it, you know, straight? It's like, I think there's a lot of things that need addressing is what, so I think, I don't want to put words in staff's mouth, I just thought, hey, I think they're kind of like saying no lights, but if you're saying, well, okay, then what kind are you talking about? You know,
Right, and that's where I think it has to be defined better. And that's why I'm hoping, you know, it can be.
Yeah, I think if Ron and the chamber are willing to take the lead on that, and that way it's not tying up staff time, and I think it'd be great if you guys want to go out and find out these things. Clearly, the technology has gotten to the point where we suddenly had to deal with something that we didn't have to deal with in the past. String lights weren't the issue, it's the bright LED. So you know, if somebody makes a motion to table, I would support that.
Do you want to hear the speakers then table, or do?
Let's hear the speakers.
Then table?
All right, so I have 3 speakers, thanks, Ron. There's Eddie, you want to come up?
Hello, my name's Eddie Desparos. I'm with Victory Leathers. I am one of the businesses that do have the lights on the windows. It brings traffic to the shop because we are not seen as people are driving down 9th Street. We get a lot of customers from Romeoville, Bolingbrook, Orland Park that come down 159th Street. So also it is a concern for me for safety. I do have cameras in the shop. My front window was broke once. So my camera face the window, and that light is for, I can see in case something else happens again. If you guys prefer to have a time limit on the lights, we can turn them off by midnight or something, maybe, I'm willing to work with the village, the city of Lockport. So, but that's all I have.
All right, thanks, Eddie. Other speaker tonight was Tom. You want to add something?
It's a long walk from over there. My name's Tom Drake. I reside at 702 East 3rd Street, but I'm here to represent the shopping center, which includes the units from 968 to 1000 East 9th Street. It's Drake Commons. My problem, and I'm not talking in support or against the lights. I really don't have an opinion for that. My problem is notice. We're changing the sign ordinance. All of my tenants all have signs. You're changing the rules that they're going to have. And the only people that you noticed, or that you gave notice to, as I understand, were those people that were not in compliance. But those people who might not be in compliance later on, we didn't get any notice. We didn't get an email, we didn't get a letter, we didn't get anything. And I surveyed the 14 different people that I was able to talk to today, most of which are my tenants. None of them got notice. My point is, I think that there should be some mechanism that if we're going to change the laws, that the businesses have to comply with. And I think it's important that we recognize the difference between downtown and the people on the corridor. The corridor represents 95% of your sales tax. Most of those people are driving by at 45 to 60 miles an hour. 45 miles, well, 60 isn't legal.
Drake goes 60.
But 45 miles an hour, 45 miles an hour is different than downtown. I would just ask for consideration that notice be given when we're going to make changes, so that that way you can get input and the business community can work with you. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Tom. And then Shawanda?
Everyone, can I pull this down a little bit? I'm so short. Hi. I have the nail bar, the nail salon at 931 South State Street, Shawanda's Nail Bar. And my only concern is the lights, too. I've been there a year, just made a year in March, and my business has been kind of flopping. And when I put the lights in the window, it seemed like all of a sudden I started blossoming. And I'm like, I get a lot of people that comes in, clients that tell me that they didn't know I was there and they only know because of the lights. And that's my reason. My purpose for putting the lights up is to attract people in to say, hey, I'm here, because I'm kind of like pushed back a little bit. So when cars going past and stuff, they really don't see me. And they said that the place had been empty for a couple years or whatever, and they just assumed that it was still empty. And the lights has brought more business to me. I was kind of like, was going to be giving up the business this year, but then when things start going, turning around for me, I decided to just stay and work it out. And that's my purpose for putting the lights up. But I do understand, too, when y'all say about the distraction, if it's causing a distraction or whatever. I do understand that. And, like, I forgot his name. Ron. And, what's your name? Eddie, yeah. If I'm willing to, even if it's a limit, you want me to, like, hey, cut the lights off at a certain time, I can do that, too, and stuff or whatever. But it's really helping my business. And I would love to stay in Lockport and stuff or whatever. I feel safe here, and I just like when clients come and just enjoy getting a pedicure or their nails done and just telling me how nice it looks in here, in the shop, and what the light does for the shop. So that's my statement. Thank you. Okay.
All right, well, like I said, if we end up having a motion to table, Ron, you asked for the work, and I'm happy to give it to you. And then I think also with the...
Isn't that what we're here
Yeah, and, we've talked about having more involvement with the chamber and interaction. I think it's a good first project, really, to get better feedback and see where, how that works. If nothing else, like Tom says, everybody can be notified at that point, because you guys have a extensive mailing list with, with local businesses and such. So, well, that's up to
Mayor,
council, somebody wants to make a
If I
motion.
can, because I don't know if Ron was at the last meeting or heard everyone's concerns from the last meeting, so I'd like to repeat some of the concerns that are there.
Yep.
I've got no problem with Chamber doing the work and looking into this. I personally don't have a problem with the way this is written and where it's going for. And some of the insight that residents and business owners may not know, right? My father-in-law always said, everything is good except in excess, right? New technology and everything. And we got businesses that use those LED lights or Christmas lights or any type, but that detracts from people, right? Detracts traffic that's there, right? It tracks and detracts. But imagine now if every business along the way had the same light, some version of light. You would just drown out anyways. So don't think of it as this is an expense that somebody had, that it's there. When you're doing your homework, it doesn't matter what lumens are bright or not or anything. You have to assume that every business that you're next to is going to do this. And everyone's trying to fight for business. I get it. As a business owner, you look at creative marketing ways, you look at things you're doing in your business, things are outside, things inside, mailers, whatever it may be. Lights are the easy route, right? We're here, right? We can start flashing, we can start putting big arrows and so forth. But you have to think about it when you're doing your homework that every single one of your neighbors are going to eventually do the same thing. So then what's the next step after that, right? And this is just preventing that and creating that level playing field. I personally don't have a problem with this because it is bringing a level there. And we're not downtown Chicago where, you've got a million businesses right next to each other and you need the flashing lights and you've got to have all this stuff that's there. So when you're doing your homework and looking at that, please consider all those things that envision that every one of them is going to do that. And it's going to get to the point where, you've got the feathers, right? The big posts with the feathers, the signs that swing up, they're 20 feet. The guys with the blow-up guys that always are popping up, right? Imagine if everyone did that, right? You wouldn't stand out from the crowd. So to me, as an architect, that distracts from the beauty of our downtown. Right? You don't see the beauty of the architecture, you don't see the beauty of the buildings, the historic buildings, when you're seeing any of these lights in the windows and you're just framing out windows. And even in our corridor, right? You get a lot of those things that distract drivers and so forth. So there's probably some other things we can do to increase business, and we've been doing it to really get business downtown Lockport. I think when somebody's in Lockport, we want them to stay. But then the competition between businesses downtown is the tough one. Yeah, I don't want it to become too Las Vegas-y or anything like that. So as you're moving forward with that, I've got no problem with you doing homework with that. Done.
And I think a good example of what Jim said is in that unincorporated plaza on 171. I think the tattoo parlor put him in, and then the guys next to him says, well, we got to do it. Now the entire plaza is LED rope lit, and it's like the sun. So that's what ends up happening, is everybody has to compete, and then that's what it ends up. So just keep that in mind. I think it's a good point.
And for Mr. Drake's comment about notifying everyone, I think that's a logistic issue of just getting every business and so forth. I think the chamber is probably better equipped with all that. But that's probably one of the reasons why we advertise our city council meetings. This is the most crowd that you see a lot of times. I mean, we do a lot of things here that people don't pay attention to, unfortunately. And if every subject that we had, we notified people, I think it'd be just a logistic nightmare. So I don't know what the answer is to that. I don't know how you do that.
Any other comments?
A couple things to add to some ideas to come up with a happy medium is perhaps don't allow the strobe effect, just have the light on. And then the second thing to add, to not only to cutting the lights off at a certain time, is to reduce the luminosity so it's not as bright as the sun, as we heard a couple of comments. So there'll be 2 additional items that I would recommend for the future council to consider.
Could I ask, is there an ordinance right now that on the top of the entryway where the businesses are at, are you able to put the name of the business where it's lit, or is that not part of what we are, trying to do in the downtown?
In the downtown area, you are allowed to put lighting or put signage on your building. The lighting would have to be by means of like a gooseneck light. It can't be internally illuminated.
Okay.
But if you know, for example, how Providence Bank had their signage, it was a flat sign on the building, and then were the gooseneck lights that shone over the lettering. So you are allowed to do that.
Can the lights, excuse me, can the letters themselves be lit?
No, they cannot be internally illuminated, not
So-
in downtown.
Not in downtown, okay. Ma'am, you with the nail salon, I know what you're talking about, because you sit back, and unless you have something that attracts the people, people don't know that you're there. I'm just wondering, on a business like that, would one of those signs with the lights shining up on you, I know that's an expense, but sometimes, we have to kind of spend money to make money, and I'm just wondering if this sign with the lights shining on the letters might be something that you could use. Because, obviously, we want to keep you in the downtown area and have your business here, so if we can try to accommodate in some way, that would be great.
And also in the downtown, you can do a projecting sign, and with some creativity, you could probably add some electrical to that and also put some sort of like uplighting or downlighting on that. So there are options. I mean, this is one option that people are choosing, but our sign ordinance, for the most part, I think is pretty generous with respect to the type of lighting. There's some restrictions on how the lighting how the signage needs to be designed, but it's pretty open. And if people call us and ask us what they can and can't do, we're more than happy to sit down with them and explain it and provide examples of, good examples of it that already exist in the city.
So Pam, here's my question to you then. When people apply for a permit to just even come in and let us know what type of business they're coming in, do they get some kind of form that gives them all that information? If you're going to have a sign, this is the type of sign, size, or whatever. Do you actually give that out to the potential business owner?
Well, what we've recently done in light of this situation and in light of the fact that a lot of people put up signs and don't even contact us, and then we have to go after them after the fact, is on our new business permit application, assuming that new businesses come in and fill one out. There is now a line item on there that says, will you be adding new signage, whether it's on the wall, whether it's in the window, whether it's a freestanding sign. If they check yes, then it says, please make sure that you contact for a sign permit. So we are bringing it to people's attention. They do have to, sign the form, so that, which means that they would have to acknowledge that was on there. We don't hand out the sign ordinance. It is online, so it is accessible. If someone comes in or calls us, we will go through the sign regulations that are applicable to them, and we will give them a copy if they wish to have a copy.
So you said that some businesses don't contact you
Correct.
at all? Or don't fill out an application or anything like that?
We do have on occasion, we do find businesses in spaces, and then we have to go after them. Yes, that would be correct.
Okay, I'm sorry, what'd you say?
Sorry, it happens all the time.
Really?
People don't check with the city.
Yeah, they just set up shop. I mean, this goes in, it's kind of a tangent, but I remember we had once talked about a business license, not for money, but for these kinds of reasons. Even if it's a $10 business license, it's just something that says you have to check in.
Right.
So that way you're not inadvertently putting rope lights in and not realize, oh my gosh, they're not allowed, or any of these kinds of things. And I do think that's something we should pursue. The application, I think, was a step, but actually to make it where you can't open without it, or it's a...
I think the city should know what's going on and what kind of businesses are coming in. I'm
And it
surprised
really helps
that
us
we
get
don't
out
have
ahead of some of these
something in place already. If we could really try to work on that, I think we need something like that. We need to know. They need to know they need to come to your office and fill out an application before their doors open.
It's just an
keeps us in-
opportunity, opportunity to get information into folks' hands and...
And when they fill in the application, I mean, we track it, and they have to fill it in order to get an occupancy. And sometimes people are occupying the space without their occupancy permit.
Yeah, you're always going to have that. You're always going to have somebody just
Yeah.
sets up shop.
So, I mean, we try to keep it in check as much as we can, but there are still those situations.
So how do you find out that a business has just opened their doors?
We go into that shopping center, and I call my staff and say, hey, did we get a permit for this business?
Right.
And they say no, and then we send Keith out. That's how it happens
How
most
it
of
is.
the times.
Yeah.
Hey.
Pam goes to get a slushie at Sonic and says, hey, where'd that guy come from back there?
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
Right, oh, wow. I'm,
All right.
okay.
that's
I
really
think
what it
we
is.
need to
But
be a
I
little
think,
bit
and
more-
again, more interaction with the chamber is going to help, I think, on
Yeah.
some of these things, so.
Great.
All right. Well, if there's nothing else, if somebody wants to make a motion for a table, I'm fine with that.
I'll make the motion to table.
When are we tabling to?
That's what he's.
I think
that's what I
until
was
a-
looking at the calendar for.
I thought you were looking at
Okay.
Jason.
The,
Looking for an answer from Jason.
well,
When's our next meeting?
how about, it's 2 months? I think 2 months ought to be enough time to go ahead and,
We did this in a month. I mean,
well, I
Pretty much the
understand, but now Ron's gonna be doing some footwork.
Ron?
What do you think you need, Ron?
I just wanted to add to this, Pam, we work very closely with at the chamber, and I'd also like to work with Alderman Petrakos and also Alderwoman Bartleson, because it seems like they have some very strong ideas on what, it should be. So I'd really like to kind of pull you out of it and work with you
That-
on what, because I absolutely
Totally fine.
understand
Yeah.
what we're trying to get away from, but at the same time, I understand what Mr. Drake's saying is, we kind of pop this in there, and I read the proposed ordinance, it seems kind of general, maybe we can fine tune this and,
Well,
have it
okay.
work out, because I didn't know the thing about the projection signs being.
Well, July 5th is the first meeting in July. That gives us 2 months, 8 weeks.
So, is it adequate time?
That should be fine.
Okay, so I make a motion to table.
Are you sure you want to go that far?
No, let's
second meeting
do
in
it
June.
sooner.
Wanna go
Yeah.
sooner? Okay, well, let's
Yeah.
go
I think there's a lot of people
How
listening.
about June?
June 7th? June
June
7th?
7th?
Sure.
Okay, I make a motion to table this.
What about the second meeting of June?
What's your motion?
That would work out better for me if that's okay. Thank you. If we could have, what would that be?
Okay, I make a motion to table this until the June 21st
And then we're
Committee
through
of the
canal
Whole
days
meeting.
and-
How's that?
Yeah.
Committee of the Whole meeting, that way we would, okay.
All right, anyone want to second that?
I'll second it.
Seconded by JR. All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays? Okay. All right, my friends, let's move on to city engineer, ED1.
Good evening, Mayor, good evening, council. I do have one item on the agenda this evening, and this is, on the agenda this evening, we do have one item, and it is in regards to the STP grant that we received for the Second Street Bridge. This is down, off Second Street. This is a crossing that would improve the roadway as well as a pedestrian crossing. We did have very favorable bids that came in. Deconstruction is the low bidder. Their bid came in at $938,430.30. This is an 80-20 bid, so 80% of that would be through the STP, or I'm sorry, 80-20 grant. 80% of that would come through the STP funding, 20% of that would be through MFT funding. I would ask for council's concurrence this evening in regards to that, and it does look like back in January of 2017, the city council has already approved the Phase 3 construction engineering in the amount of $168,241.32 for Baxter and Woodman. So again, this evening, we would be looking for concurrence to award the project to deconstruction, and again, this is an 80-20. The bids did come in, again, about $400,000 lower than the engineer's estimate. Any questions? I would be glad to take those.
Well, sure, let me make a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion.
Second?
JR, seconded by Joanne.
This is Bob's last chance to make a motion.
And you guys pounced, you guys,
I got a couple in.
yeah, they were just hot, man. So
Do
the,
the rest?
when's construction start on this?
Well, we have to go through the award process, so this will start that. It will take a few months to get through the IDOT process of contacting them, getting everything back. So I would anticipate, I would anticipate probably 8 weeks from now is when we would have a construction pre-con meeting, and then we would be moving forward from there, so.
Okay.
What's that, maybe mid to late July,
Okay.
give or take.
Okay. Any other questions, concerns?
Yeah, Brent, IDOT reviews all these bids, right, and the quantities, all that stuff. They do all the review of the contractor and,
That is correct. What they do is they take a look at the bids, and before they send them and before they give us an apparent low bidder, they will review these for anything that's out of the ordinary, any, penny bids, anything that just sticks out of the ordinary, high or low. So yes, they do review these.
any feeling on, I mean, these are great numbers, but is that competitive? We've seen a lot of construction numbers going higher, not lower. Is this just the estimates a little bit off, or you think we're just getting competitive for this project alone?
This is a little bit early in the season, which is always great. I always feel like earlier in the season, you're gonna get better numbers. As far as the estimate goes, I think we were probably a little high on the estimate to be this far off. Typically, you don't quite see that. But again, very favorable bids. So,
Yeah, and 80/20, that's great. So even lower means our 20% is lower too, so
correct.
I'm all for it. That's great.
All right, anything else? Alice, can you do your last roll call?
Yes, sir. Alderman Petracos?
Ooh, yes.
Alderman Capidono?
Yes.
Alderman Galugly?
Yes.
Alderman Smith?
Yes.
Alderman Deskin?
Yes.
Alderman Vandermeer?
Yes.
Alderman Peretta?
Yes.
And Alderwoman Bartleson?
Yes.
Eight yeas, motion carried.
Yeah. All right, very good. Does anybody have any new business before we get to the swearing-in ceremony?
I got a quick question. Julie, did you finish your homework? Yeah, good. Awesome. I don't have to deal with it when I get home.
Mayor, I did have the report for liaison, but I'm going to hold off and we'll do it the next
yeah.
meeting.
Yeah. That's when we do it anyway, so that's
Okay.
fine. Very good. And Brian found another speech.
I found another
apparently.
speech, yep. We talked about volunteers and people that really help out. So one name I do want to mention is Kathy Wilker. Kathy, thank you so much for doing all the meetings, taping them.
You see the top of her head.
Yeah.
Over that.
Kathy.
She's sinking down.
Yeah.
Hey!
I don't know how many meetings you missed, Kathy. Probably in one hand I can count them in my 12 years. So thank you for that, and your dedication to this is appreciated.
Just take a drink.
All right, very good. So who handles the swearing in? How does this work?
Hey, Bob, do you want your,
close
you're
this
not going to mention Lockport Love, or you can let Catherine handle that?
I was going to have Catherine
Oh, okay.
say a few words about that. Normally I
So,
would.
yeah,
Thank
so
you.
who swears them in?
Well, last time we did it all together. So we just lined up here up front,
Right.
and then when I say I, and then you state your name.
Okay.
And then the office of, you would state your office.
Okay, so
All right.
we'll do that for the.
So here's what's going to happen then. All our newly elected officials will be myself, City Clerk Kathleen Gentile. We have City Treasurer back again, Dave Palea. We've got Renee Saban is going to be here for the Ward 1, Christine Bergbauer for Ward 2, Darren Deskin, and Catherine Peretta for Ward 4. So why don't we all come up to the front and we'll do our swearing in.
Can we take pictures again?
Still have mine.
Do I have to move chairs?
Oh, really?
Yeah, you all going to share.
Do you have it like in an office or
I
something?
have a bookcase in my home. Yeah. Kind of like Catherine. Yeah.
This will go here then.
Oh, my God.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Hey, I got your numbers.
Yeah.
I'll be in touch with you. It's always nice to get a second opinion, respect to the opinion. Should have voted for this. Still should have voted for this sidewalk, but I mean, I'd have a sidewalk right now, but no.
That I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Illinois, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of
Somebody nudge him.
Here comes Big Daddy.
Hold on, buddy.
Big Daddy is coming over.
You guys are always good guys, man.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Always. Thanks for this. No problem.
Yeah.
That's your water, right?
Yes.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Mine's got lipstick
I'm
on
gonna do it
it.
right now. Hey, Brian and Bob, we need to close our meeting, sorry.
We're here.
I need a motion to adjourn city council.
I'll make that motion.
Brian, you want a second? Second.
Seconded by Brian, and motion made by Bob Peretta. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All right, why don't we just take a few? Yeah, take 5. looking at having a, we need a roll call to open our, we're at committee of the whole this time. Committee of the whole. So lay it on us. Can you do a roll call, please?
Roll call. Peretta?
Present.
That's right, I'm looking over here.
We all are like,
Alderwoman Bartleson?
Here?
Eskin?
Here.
Vandermeer?
here.
Oh, you're reversed. Galogly?
I'm here, yes.
Okay, Burbauer.
I want the respect of being called Alderman Galogly,
Alderman
please.
Burbauer,
Thank you.
Alderman Petracos?
Draco.
Petracco?
Present.
Alderman Saban? Here. We'll get it. All present.
They don't feel bad. Everybody called me Street for the first 6 months.
I still do something.
So, well, everyone, welcome, truly. Look forward to working with the new council, and, you know, one thing I want to say, just give a couple bits of, not advice necessarily, as
Wisdom.
just some insight, yeah, a little bit of wisdom. It's, don't worry if you don't know what is being talked about. If you're like, what are they talking about? And if you have a question, don't hesitate to ask it, because this isn't intuitive, right? You don't just know what an FPA is, right? You don't just know, you know, some of the, and even when we have an agenda item, it's like, okay, I feel like I shouldn't ask this question because I should probably know this already. No, you really shouldn't. And never feel intimidated by like asking a question. Or delving into things, because the nature of a citizen representative government is that, you know, we're not experts in the field of, you know, a government, and so it's going to be new to us. And so please be at ease and relax. Don't hesitate to ask questions. And this has always been a very cooperative group. And although, you know, we don't always agree together on projects, we've always been very respectful of one another. And I think I probably disagree with Darren most of all, but I've never, ever left with anything other than like just
Hate.
feelings of goodwill, man.
We disagreed and we just moved on.
And we move on, and it's been good. Yeah, the opposite of things. So it's so I mean that's just an example, and so I know that the crew that's here today will feel the same and do the same, and so. Just, those are my words to share with you guys, so.
And Mr. Mayor, I wish you would have said that when I was on this morning. Thank you.
I said,
You talk about being-
Joanne, do not screw up when you're here,
right,
yeah.
Exactly.
Mercy.
No, that's very nice.
All right, so liaison reports. And we'll talk a little bit about this as we move on. For you new folks, is that we usually have some assignments that we do. And in this case, you know, we have some liaisons. I know Joanne had something she wanted to speak about with her liaison report. Is that true?
That is correct.
All right, lay it on.
I thought I was going to wait till the next meeting, not meaning this meeting, but that's okay. I just wanted to bring up, due to the fact that we do have a pretty, you know, new council. In 2016, I was assigned to not only the code enforcement, but also the beautification of Lockport. And we started a program where we wanted to dress it up. And one of the ideas that came up was doing gateway signs. And the first sign that we're going to do, that we have been working on since last year, is the gateway sign on 159th and 355. There's actually probably cones still there to show us where it's going to actually be. At our next meeting, we will have another view of what the sign looks like now, and the costs will be talked about, because it did, the things that we want to do eventually, and we're not saying that we're going to spend money right away, but we have put money away for this project that we will be starting. And we finally submitted last year. We were rejected by IDOT because they had certain rules about the type of gateway sign that needed to be on that type of median. So we had to go back to the drawing board and put together a sign that they call a breakaway wall. That was very tough to come up with something that was going to look aesthetically nice as people came in and drove back and forth, east and west on 159th Street. Ben has been working very hard, and he found some type of material which is like a foam, but it actually has the look of brick. And I think it's going to be very nice aesthetically, and it will be the welcome sign to Lockport. And of course, with the help of Jim Petrakis and Pam Hirth, and also Jody Mariano from Tescus.
Tesca, yeah.
Association, associates, we've come together and agreed on a nice design, and next meeting, I'd like to present that to everyone, so that way everybody has an idea what it's going to look like. I think we'll be very pleased. So what's actually being submitted as of today, Ben tells me, is that a new projection of what we're asking them to approve. The sign, electric, the landscaping that's going to go on there, and all this. Some of it was approved, but some of it wasn't not, so we had to resubmit everything, and hopefully won't take as long as almost a year to give us the okay this time. And I've asked Ben to please stay on top of it this time so that we don't drag it on too long. And if there's any questions that Will County or IDOT has, that they should come to us right away and let us know. So this is all going to be put together as a presentation next meeting, and I think I think everyone should enjoy how we're going to present this sign at the gateway.
Right on. Thanks for handling that, Joanne.
Yeah.
And it's good to know if I crash into it, it'll just burst into packing peanuts. Yeah.
So.
All right, very good. Anybody else? All right. Ben, you got something? CA1?
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. CA1 is really, we obviously welcome all the new elected officials. We have been emailing them and calling them, and had them attend Lockport University to try to get to know the city and the operations and the staff a little bit and how things work. We're also going to have a kind of a bus tour, and we've had a few of the folks sign up. We will be posting a special meeting. It's already on our website because there'll be more than 3 of you. But we plan to meet here at City Hall at 9:30 on Saturday, May 6th. We'll do a brief roll call and presentation by the mayor, and then we'll jump on the bus and take the new elected officials to some of the development areas, and I think some of the existing officials have signed up as well. And we'll just talk and show you a little bit about what's been occurring here for the last few years. So we'll have that again. It's already posted here at City Hall. It'll be on our website, and I just wanted to mention it and welcome you, and we'll look forward to working with you.
All righty. What else you got?
Okay, CA2 is, as we have elected officials change over from time to time, and we have different people serve in different capacities, not only with the council, but also with the Planning and Zoning Board, we'd like to welcome an opportunity to have some training where we'll have a professional come in, Michael Hoffman from Tesca Associates. He's their vice president from their Plainfield office, and he can come in and talk a little bit about the do's and don'ts in regards to planning, governing processes for elected bodies. This would be, my proposal would be to have a joint meeting with the planning and zoning members and the council, so we'll have to set up a future date if you're willing to do this. The costs are about $1,000, but actually we're in the process, we've made an application for a grant to even cover those costs. We should hopefully know that in the near future. But I think it's valuable and important to do even if we don't get the grant to cover the cost, but I think we will. And so I guess what I'm looking for tonight is just kind of permission to move forward with that idea and concept, to work with your calendars and the planning and zoning members' calendars and set a special meeting. I don't think we want to necessarily try to mix it in with a planning and zoning or a city council meeting. It would be a separate meeting, possibly a week that we don't have a council meeting on a Wednesday night. If that's all okay with you, we'll have Jody kind of touch base and do take a look at everyone's calendars. But I think in the next month or so, it'd be important to have everybody kind of past officials revisit some of the things that we need to focus on when it comes to purview and what we're voting on, and especially for planning and zoning. We want to make sure our process is smooth for developers as they come through.
All right, that sounds good. I just got to make sure I get planning and zoning appointment squared away, so.
Yeah.
see what they do.
I have,
Maybe in June or something.
I have a couple of comments. Just so the new council members, this idea came out of a strategic planning session we had August, September of last year, which kind of evolved out of something a number of years ago at Illinois Municipal League Conference, where each city needs to have various types of plans, comprehensive plan, master plans, and a strategic plan. And one thing that Lockport was lacking 4 years ago is we didn't have a strategic plan. And so that's where this come out of, and part two of that here is Ben kind of touched on this, is what is everybody's purview? Okay, what is responsibility of staff? What's responsibility of Heritage Architecture Commission, which I believe they need to be here, planning, zoning, city council, and the mayor? What are all of our roles? Because things could work a whole lot better than they are, and they've been really working well for the past 4 years. But I think we can improve on this, and this is kind of like where this is coming from. And it's going to be extremely beneficial for all of us when we meet this.
Just so we can clarify, this is Tesca's for a planner, so this is more based on
Correct.
the comprehensive plan, development coming in, looking at that stuff, not
Well,
everyday
yeah.
stuff that the city council's doing. So everyone's got the same, we're on the same page.
Yeah.
It's more about a project, a developer coming through, understanding process, urban planning, so forth, and going forward.
Okay. All right, sounds good. I mean, we need no action on this, you just let me know.
No, I just want to make sure
And
we're.
just, we're going to do it, the fourth Wednesday of every month is a time when, because we meet the first and third, planning commission meets the second, and so,
Might be the fourth Wednesday in June then, maybe.
Yeah.
I think we would need to reappoint some planning and zoning members in the May 17th meeting, and then we can get their calendars and anoint to June.
All right, very good.
Okay, thank you. The next item, we have a couple items coming up in regards to sidewalks. The first one, CA3, is a proposal for a public sidewalk on 163rd Street in front of the Panduit property. Panduit has been in the process of redesigning and constructing part of their development on the side there. I have actually been in conversations with them separately in regards to the missing sidewalk when we were talking about Exeter last year. One of their VPs was open to the idea and dialogue in regards to including the replacement of some of this public walk that was never put in when they came in 1989, that they would put it in as part of their project for their reconstruction. They've already engineered it. I have our engineering staff reviewing it, making sure we don't have any utility conflicts or anything in the right-of-way. Part of the proposal is they would build this, and we have looked at a model of a 50-50 program. We have that available to residents. We don't have a 50-50 program necessarily for businesses. We thought this was a unique situation where we could kind of emulate that idea and concept. We do get money from developers from time to time about putting money towards sidewalks and programs. I've checked with finance. We do have funding available this year. So basically, we've been going back and forth with Panduit, and we've made it to the point where they're asking me for a letter of intent on what the city would be willing to do or not do. And so I've included in your packet probably a little bit too much of information. A lot of the packet information was about their overall project, but there is some aerials that show there is a missing sidewalk basically between the Walmart and the Exeter property across the Panduit. The topography there goes up and down a little bit. It is more challenging just a regular sidewalk. The estimate that they have put together was almost $100,000. It'd be $99,809. We have been in conversations of treating this like a half and half, 50-50 program. I'm looking for the authority to enter into an agreement with them or send them a letter that we can bring an agreement back once both parties agree that we would be willing to split the program with the money not to exceed $60,000. So just in case as this evolves and once engineering has a chance to really go through this, that if there's any tweaks we need to do, we have the funding ready to go to keep things moving on their timeline.
All right, questions, comments?
Everybody remembers, so Exeter, and when it first came in, was Tandis. right?
Tandem, yes. sir.
Tandem, we said, back then, said, you know what, instead, in lieu of a sidewalk that went nowhere, right, because Panduit didn't have anything, and then going west, or going east had nothing, we said, just give us the dollars and cents, and we'll parlay it into another project. Tandem then bought the farmhouse that was right next to it, and then extended their property, so we said, you know what, at this point, let's just put in sidewalks, let's have the developer put in the sidewalks. And I want to commend Ben for, when he was talking about it, saying, okay, we should do this. It is a sidewalk that goes nowhere right now. We got to fill in those pieces. And he went and actually got out of his car and went and talked to the people at Panduit. And I thought it was great. And the guy's like, yeah, absolutely, love to have it. You know, there's kids everywhere and doing it, get them on the sidewalk. Now it's evolved into, they're doing a bigger project that's there and the new sidewalk. So I think it's an awesome project for this and for us to contribute to and connect different parts. I do ask that, I think for the residents, we ask for a specific bid just for their stretch. So I think this, because it's part of a bigger project for them, that somehow they have to break that actual numbers out on their bid forms. And Brent, I would ask that you see that bid form is actually broken out that way, and so you can actually see the pricing for it. But I think this is a great project to connect it.
All right. Anybody else?
Well, what exactly is Panduit? They're expanding, or?
They're redoing their entrance. The asphalt's really been deteriorating, and there's some cement work they're doing. I know they're going to be coming in to fill their permits out, and they've been doing their engineering, and as part of their project, when we were talking to them, they decided to pre-engineer the sidewalk as well.
We had residents complain about their side drive, that was so filled with potholes, they can hear the trucks every morning. And those are residents in Karen Spring. So I called them up, and they're like, we agree, we're working on it, we're going to do it in conjunction with the sidewalk. So it was a great thing.
What do you need from us, Ben?
I think I've heard it, that some willingness to allow me to send a letter. I'll work with Tom, and we'll talk to them about, yes, we'd be willing to enter into an agreement with you for up to $60,000 towards this walk. We will continue to go through this design and make sure the bid is going to be separated out. And so what I'll do is I'll bring back an agreement at some point. Tom and I will meet with the Panduit folks, and we'll bring back basically a kind of a specialized sidewalk agreement to do this.
Can I just ask two clarifying questions?
Sure.
So, for whatever reason, the big documents I just can't read on my iPad.
Okay,
so-
yeah, and that was their overall construction package.
Yeah.
Inside there, about 2 pages worth were just the sidewalks.
So
that
just
wasn't-
two things, and I'm sure are just clarification. So their letter actually says 175th Street, but it's not,
It's
right?
163rd, that was a typo, I saw it too.
And then it's gonna be, I thought I saw on street, on like ours, which is again really tough to read, but this is gonna be off street, just
It'll be
and
off-street.
connect the two sidewalks that'll be
Correct.
east and west of it, right?
Right.
I got a question.
Oh, yeah. Oh, great.
Bill, why don't you come up to the microphone, please?
Wasn't sure anyone was going to make it. Yeah, thank you.
But I just want to say, if you needed more information on the cost breakout, I brought that with me, so Ben, I can
great.
leave that with you.
That'd be wonderful.
Okay? And just to clarify, that sidewalk design is based on us having to replat to add roughly 10 feet of right-of-way.
Okay.
So that puts the sidewalk at a better elevation to keep the cost down, and also then it ends up on public property. 'Cause right now, our right-of-way centers do not line up with both our neighbors. And then it'll get the two sidewalks to meet.
All right. Well, thanks, Bill, please extend our thanks to Panduit for working with us on this.
Sure. Thank you.
And my question was, I'm confused, and was this a one-time deal, or did you want to go ahead and put something in place for a 50/50 program for future commercial development? What was
Wasn't thinking that far ahead, but we could do something in the future. I think in regards to this particular project, I know that they want to get going. I think we can just work out a separate agreement with them, and then we could bring back some future language or a program, and then it's just a matter of funding allocations for the city at budget time, so we might be able to do that before the next budget if you want.
And I would say probably I would put that for a 50/50 program for existing businesses, not for
Right.
new businesses.
Yeah.
Well, right, yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, we can work on that too.
All right. Speaking of sidewalks,
Yes. Thank you, Mayor. So CA4 is the Farrell Division Briggs Bike Path, and Brent has done a great job of kind of dissecting this, and there's a memo I passed out because we had it on the agenda, but we were still working with IDOT in details as we were coming together. And as you're all aware, the Farrell Briggs and Division project was, the bid was over the amount that was allocated, and the prior council rejected that bid, and now we've had several members of the council and the mayor ask, okay, now what? And so we've come up with some ideas here that basically it's 4 main options. We're recommending one of them, but we're certainly here to proceed in any direction you want to do. The rebid is there is a rebid opportunity on the current project as proposed from the state, we found out. But basically the costs have fallen over the last few years where this proposal would be more of a 50-50, and I know that was problematic from some of our council members. And so there is an opportunity where we could rebid this today. We could try to look for some value engineering, but we're not very optimistic. And frankly, with this time of the season as it goes on, it would probably come back as a higher amount, so we're not recommending that. Item 2 is something we would like to recommend where we basically relook at this entire project and we resubmit to IDOT for their next bid letting in the fall. And we ask them to cover 80/20 for the entire portion of the original scope of this project. So pretty much as it is designed today, maybe a few tweaks. And in the process, we try to reach out to the township, the county, try to raise some funds from them and be participants with the grant, put in a new grant submittal this fall, and see if we can't get the 80/20 funding that I think all of the original council people that probably put this together were hopeful to get. The third option would be we can put together a smaller scope that doesn't include the entire project or doesn't include any sections of the unincorporated or whichever you wish to pull out of this original scope that we couldn't change on the current project, and resubmit that for a grant eligible opportunity and wait to see what happens. And the fourth option is basically ignore the grant opportunity and build our own sidewalks in appropriate places that you feel necessary as the budget and funds allow in the future years.
All right, well, let me hear from everyone. What are
Well,
thoughts here?
For me, number 1 is out. Number 2, I can support that. Ben and I spoke earlier today about this, and what, correct me if I'm wrong, the impression you got from ITEP was, if not for the unincorporated area, there would not have been a grant. Did I take, was that correct?
The old but-for line.
It's but for.
But it's not that has to do with unincorporated, incorporated. They don't care. It's continuity.
Well, that's not.
It's a single connection is what they are
Well,
concerned
that's
about.
that's not the impression I got from Ben today. So after the conversation I had with Ben, I went and talked with Ron Alberico, supervisor at the township. They're all for it, okay? But he brought up a question. He says he doesn't even know if that is in their purview, okay? Which then takes me back to February when we had the IGA from intergovernmental agreement with Will County, and the township wasn't included in that, okay? So the question is, even though it's an unincorporated Lockport Township, and then would the township even have any say-so in the matter or any? And then he also said it's within their budgeting process, they have no funding set aside for any type of sidewalks, okay? So, but then the thought was, well, if there is an intergovernmental agreement, possibly with the township, county, and the city, that may be more favorable to get closer to the 80%. And the cost of, approximately $800,000, it went from, $400,000 to $800,000 in 7 years, that maybe we can get closer to the $650,000 to $675,000, which is the 80%. If we can do that, I can support that, okay? But I can't support a penny less than 80% because, once again, we would be putting a sidewalk on property that we have absolutely positively no authority to do so. So if we can do 2, that would be great. That means we get the whole thing done, but that, of course, wouldn't be done until at least 2018.
And I think Brent kind of educated us a little bit today, too, about the continuity in unincorporated areas. And if you're looking at a rebid this fall, I think you're looking at probably another 1.5-year process. So I wouldn't even necessarily hope for sidewalks in 2018, that by the time we actually got the approval, went through this bid again, it probably would be constructed in 2019, just to kind of set the expectation. But yes, if we resubmit this for their next bid, their best open call for bids this fall, that, yes, we should be able to get an 80-20 on this new project. And hopefully, with this extra time and scrutiny, we'll be able to make sure that this is going to be, engineered to everyone's satisfaction, that the cost estimates are on solid grounds, and that we can all feel confident moving forward, and hopefully with maybe not only more money from ITEP, but maybe some money from another government partner.
Excuse me, Ben, I've reached out to one of our representatives from Will County, and there's a strong possibility that they may be also contribute some funds. We may have to sit down and just explain, this project and what we're looking for, and perhaps they can contribute also due to the fact that this is an unincorporated area. Will County could possibly put in some money also. So I think we need to reach out to them. If, I can also do that and set up a meeting so that we can all sit down and talk. Because I think there's money out there that we can also get from other governing bodies.
I agree with you on that, okay? But I think if, it may be better, I don't even know if that's the correct term, to go ahead and have a joint grant request, a joint Will County, Will County, Lockport Township, City of Lockport, may be better than just us alone.
Right, and that's why we need to know how much these governing bodies can contribute, so that way when we do go in with our bids, then, we have some kind of figures, in place. So, yeah, absolutely.
Brent, what do you think of that? Do you think a joint application to ITEP would be more favorable if we had a bunch of?
I do, and the reason being is, it looks as, I don't want to say it looks as though, because you are impacting more agencies, but you have more agencies that they can kind of check off the list. And again, that's going to sound wrong, but the more people that they can help. So if you have 3 applicants on there, if you have same with if we were going to do an application with an adjoining city or community, by putting both on there, you're kind of killing 2 birds with one stone.
Okay.
So
Yeah, 'cause
absolutely, it would get us more.
Yeah, because the key in all of this here is, it's about $250,000. Okay, if we can get $250,000 more dollars in grant money, all right, that takes us to the 80% of the whatever cost it is, $800,000, $850,000, whatever the cost was a couple of months ago. That's something I can support, but we have to get that $250,000 more dollars.
I don't want to take a big step back because I understand there was quite a few discussions already on this, so I don't want to take a huge step back. But just so everybody understands the ITEP process, when you apply, you're applying for a project. They don't pick and choose the percentages, how much, it's 80-20. Our misstep, I'll say, several years ago was we did not request the correct amount of money, essentially is what happened. Again, not to take giant steps back, but if we would have requested $850,000 at that point, they're saying yes or no to the project. The cost obviously is a major portion, but they don't come back and say we're going to give you only 50%. They give you 80%. Their grant is 80%. And so what occurred was we had an estimate of cost that we went in with. We told them, here's how much we want. They said, great project, here's your money. And so along the whole process, they thought everything was in line, everything was going well. And unfortunately, when the time came to really go out to bid 7 years later, the cost had increased due to,
I understand what you're saying, but that's not what the document says. If you go back and look at the August 2010 document, what it says is the 80% is requested up to 416,000, but the $800,000 for the total project it's on that paper dated August or September, October, whatever it was, 2010. Okay, so, which.
And I think and again, I'm kind of trying to fill in and understand everything as well. I think what that initial cost was, we did not, and again, please, step in and help me out here.
Well, nobody's here in the room that was part of any of that stuff.
The engineering initially, we were gonna do in-house, and so there was a couple $100,000, about $220,000 of the project was initially going to be done in-house. The phase 1, the phase 2, and the phase 3. And so now all of that has become part of the project as well. And so I don't know, and again, I apologize, I don't have that sheet in front of me, Darren, to be able to look at it. But I do know that the initial estimate was $570,000 for construction. And the 80% of that 570 is what we were given. And so I think phase 1, phase 2, phase 3 are all application eligible. So really what we should have done is looked at the construction, phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3, and lumped it all into one and said, here's the true dollar amount that we're looking for. Can we have 80% of that? So again, I apologize, I don't have that sheet in front of me to go back on.
Okay.
I think, what we're talking about right now makes a lot more sense than what we were struggling with 2 months ago. So if we can go back out, get some cooperation with the county, get some cooperation with the township, file a joint grant request, hopefully get a little bit of the cost sharing on the 20% side as well from local government. Even when we declined this, whatever it was 2 months ago,
Shut yours off.
nobody was completely against the project as is. It just didn't, the way it came out didn't make sense. So if we could go through with option 2 here and, prove to be successful, I think it's a worthwhile venture.
Okay.
Can I ask a couple questions?
Yeah, go for it.
My question to Brent, okay, if we did go back and go for the 80/20 and go for the grant or whatever, what number is now the number that would be used? Is it are they gonna now say the new estimate is the 750,000 that Baby D was at? Or are they gonna say it's 850 where they thought it was originally? Or are we now gonna add in the $100,000 that we thought we need for the engineering part, actual contract engineering? So are we now looking at a $950,000 project? Where is the job going to change in what we think is the next estimate going out, or are we stuck with a number of what they think it is at $850?
The job will be what we tell them. So when we evaluate the project as it stands today, what we'll do is we'll look at the costs where they are today, where they're going to be, a year or 2 from now. And then we will include the phase 3 engineering as part of that cost. Phase 1 and phase 2 are already sunk. We can't recoup those unless we were to make some changes, make some revisions to the plans. We could include that cost. But if we were going to go in with the exact same scope, the exact same plan set, phase 1, phase 2 are done, we would go in with a new revised engineer's estimate of cost. So today I understand it was bid at $742 and some change. We would probably evaluate that. Maybe it goes up to $800, $850, the $100,000 on top, $950. We would go to ITEP and say, here's our new all-encompassing request, $950,000. We're seeking 80% of that $950. Again, they would say either yea or nay on the project. Along with that comes the 80% of the $950. So what I would recommend again is making sure you don't want to go in and ask for an abundance of money, because then they're going to say, why in the heck did you ask for this? And then down the road. But you do want to make sure that you have it covered.
And this is stuff you're going to be doing in-house. This is stuff we don't have to pay additional money to get the official estimate moving forward, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Let me ask a couple questions. This is, obviously, had a lot of red flags, right? We all know that. So let me ask the hard one about the hard red flag. I'm all for the intergovernmental, the township and Will County doing that. But what's the council's feeling on some of those areas are part of our corridors that need to be probably incorporated, right? They probably, we've got some RVs there, we got some different areas, property maintenance issues and stuff like that, that are one of our corridors. And obviously, we have a Lockport Pride initiative and trying to do that. What's everyone's take on actually just incorporating them, and then it's not even an issue of the township and Will County actually being that, because now this is in the
We
city.
talked about that, Jim, we talked about that at the last meeting before it was voted down. We may have to talk about possibly going a little bit further and annexing these particular land that these
But
unincorporated
is that an
areas
option, as we're sitting there with Brent and Ben, is that something that the council wants them to,
Why wouldn't we stay as is with a joint
Right, as I say, I think if,
cost sharing?
we could, I think those conversations are best held for meetings with those other government entities, because if you're asking them to put money in and be partners, but then you're gonna take it all over
Yeah.
anyway,
Yeah, I agree.
they wouldn't want to do that.
Yeah, my feeling on it is, my feeling on incorporation is, for the most part, if somebody wants to be incorporated. And so, unless there's some real problem that's going on. And in this case, if we can get an intergovernmental help and it checks off more, boxes on an application to help us get the money, I just kind of leave it as is my feeling.
But a lot of the turnoff is that a lot of the sidewalk was going to be an unincorporated area.
It's not really a lot. I would say there's kind of a smaller percentage than
It
a
was
lot.
the greatest cost.
It was the most difficult to
The
navigate.
greatest cost was in the
Right.
unincorporated area.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe that's what the problem was, that it was voted down by the majority, is that
But
because
if we can
it
get,
was.
if county's willing to help out and these kind of things, and it helps us get the better grant money, I mean, in the
Yeah,
end,
I'm-
if we can get an 80-20 out of it,
I'm all for that, right? It's there, but, so we're not doing this at every 2 meetings and trying to get information. Is that something that the council says, if we don't get township and we don't get Will County and nobody else is helping us, is that something the council wants to incorporate?
I think, at least from my standpoint, if we don't get 80-20, no way, right? Because now we're talking about $1 million project that we'd be funding. I would obviously like to see some support from Will County and the township. I think that's probably, in my mind at least, that's a little up for debate, but.
for me, as long as I get an 80-20, I would go it alone. I was willing to do it last time, but I would do it this time. But if we can get the county and it helps us get a better, more chances for
We
grants.
get an 80-20 without an IGA, okay, that cuts our MFT, fuel tax, money by half, if not a little bit more.
But, to the point of the most difficult part of the engineering and construction is actually in the unincorporated part, it would be nice to get a little bit of relief for some of those costs as well.
Well, I think first step is,
We won't
doesn't
know
have to
until
be
fall.
as simple till fall, so we can, reach out to county and see how this plays out.
Can I ask a quick question? What would be the amount that you're looking for the unincorporated part? Since I'm not up to par on that. Just since that was brought up, how much are you looking for to make, how much of the project was unincorporated?
Sure. If a percentage-wise, even if it were, 15% of it was, but it was 30% of the cost. I'm just throwing numbers out.
I think we
Was it
wanna
like
do a little more-
300,000,
I wouldn't wanna just
100,000?
throw out numbers at the moment.
Okay.
I think
I'm just-
we want to research kind of how much linear feet that is and
Yeah.
all and then if the new project, once we reevaluate it, if it's 900 and then the percentage, I mean, we would statistically have a ratio that would make some sense as to the ask, and it may end up being $100,000 we ask, it may only be 50,000, I don't know at this point. But
So,
I think.
yeah, we can
I think we
iron that out.
need to kind of do some more homework before we, put that out there, and then go have a meeting with the county, and then ask them for what you all feel is an appropriate amount at that time. Once you know what the rebid project would be, what we're asking IDOT for, then the 20% is 200,000. Do we put in 100 and then township and county both put in 50 or whatever it ends up being? But at this point, without having those numbers and spreadsheets in front of us and crunching those.
So how would that work then? Because county has different meeting times. They're meeting on a Thursday, this many times a month.
I would
We're
start with
meeting
the
every
staff.
other Wednesday.
No, what-
If you've got a time frame on a bid, I'm just curious how that process could work.
The staff would meet with their staff, and we would bring you a proposal when it was ready to be discussed.
And I think this is more of a private, with the right people to ask, let's say, for the county, Will County, to sit down with us and talk, right? I mean, it's not something that,
No, it's just sit down with Larry
It's a
Walsh
sit down,
at this
right.
point. That's how you start it, so. Okay. Any other thoughts, folks? All right, I think option 2 seems like a viable thing. I think it satisfies a lot of the original concerns. And,
we have a timeframe then that we can get started on this then?
well, we can start reaching out
Right
to
away.
county right away.
Pardon?
9 o'clock, you're in the office 9 o'clock?
Yeah, 9 a.m. All right, very good.
Before we get to, I think Brent has a quick memo on a disposal of a vehicle. I think we are, Tom, are we asking for a closed session on property for setting the price or sale or lease of property owned by the public body? So we would, we'll do Brent's thing first, but before we convene, we'd like to go into executive session.
Okay, sounds good. All right. Yeah, it's not on the sheet, man. No executive
on
session
there?
for you.
Page 2, item 6. But it was in there.
What?
Well, the executive session is not on there, correct.
That's
but
what
I
we're
brought
talking
that up.
about.
That's what we're talking about.
That's okay, we can bring it up.
Those are the things that goes the extra hour.
It's an audible.
Yeah, we just did an audible on that.
All right.
We gonna dispose of this vehicle?
Yes.
Yeah, lay it on us there, Ken.
Vehicle number 601, this is in the sewer department, it is a 2004 Chevy 1500 pickup. The item has 236,800 miles on it. Since 2012, October of 2012, we've expended $7,300 on maintaining it. About 2 weeks ago, Rusty came to me and showed me the problems. And here, we've also got a memo in here from him. The truck is in rough condition, rocker panels are rusted, the fuel lines, which this would kind of kick it over the edge. The fuel lines are leaking above the transmission onto the exhaust. And that was the thing that really kicked us over. Again, brake lines are also badly rusted, repairs would be more than the truck is worth. At this point, we are asking for that truck for council to allow us to declare for salvage and disposal, and then also, we'll come back to you at budget time, whether or not this is going to be an ask for a replacement or if it will need to be replaced. But at this point, it's just, again, just declare salvage.
All right. Any questions, comments on that? You guys all right with putting that on a consent agenda item for next meeting?
Mm-hmm.
All right. All right. I guess that concludes your first meeting. Was it fun? Was it all you hoped for?
Yeah, we have to come back.
Oh, yeah, this is where it really gets interesting. All right, so we're looking for a motion to adjourn into an executive session.
Wait, I want to make a.
Oh, sorry.
We're doing
Catherine has some new business.
Yes, yes, yes. Just a reminder that this Friday is Lockport Loves Candlelight Bowl. So it's coming up. We have over 100 bowlers that I know of, unless you have a total count. 145 bowlers, and we are probably over 30. Yeah, JR and his wife is coming. Joanne and her husband.
Jared
I'm
just looks like a
coming.
bowler.
Ben's coming with his wife, so if you guys would like to come on out. And we've got at least, I don't know, at least 35 baskets maybe coming up. Maybe more, because they've been coming in. So a lot of great raffle items coming in. So it should be a fun night.
So again, strike and spare?
It's at Strike and Spare. It is $30 a person and $50 a couple.
You can pay at the door.
Okay.
And then if you can't come this Friday, I would like to promote our golf outing also for Lockport Love. That'll be August 11th, so you could plan for that too. That will be at Broken Arrow Golf Club. And so I know some of you guys like to golf, so please come out there and do not break any windows, because then I will get those calls.
Well, then I will keep it at the police and also promote their Lockport Police Benevolent Fund golf outing, which is Friday, June 9th, also at Broken Arrow. But that fills up quickly, and it might be filled already, but
And you get great shirts with that one.
Yes, and it's also a nice event to support, so.
You do. You've
With that
got a
one
whole
as well.
closet of them.
All right, very good. Anything else on new business, folks? Oh, by the way, just an FYI, the Chens have leased out Broken Arrow to a new user. So the Chen's family, while they'll still own the property, It'll be, what's the name of the company again?
The company is Golf Visions. Golf Visions is a well-known company that operates about 20 golf courses in the Chicago area and outside of Illinois. We've already met with the owner of the company. He's coming in on Tuesday for a transfer of the liquor license, and it seems like he's got some good plans as far as upgrading the course and the facility.
So, that's pretty cool information, so. All right, then if nothing else, looking for a motion to adjourn into a...
Mr. Mayor, if I may help with that, we need a motion to go into closed session under exemption 2C6, which is to set the price for the sale of city-owned property, and also 2C1, which is for the employment of a specific employee. For the new council members, we do require a roll call vote anytime we go into closed session.
So I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Motion by Darren, seconded by Mr. Vandermeer. Can I have a roll call, Kathy?
Yes, you can. Alderwoman Saban?
Yes.
Alderman Petrakos?
Yes.
Alderwoman Verbauer?
Yes.
Alderman Galogly?
Yes.
Alderman Vandermeer?
Yes.
Alderman Deskin?
Yes.
Alderwoman Bartleson?
Yes.
Okay. Alderwoman Beretta?
Yes.
All right, right on. We'll go to the secret room.
That's right, I forgot we got executive
Hey, Ben.
chambers now.
Got more Kleenex?